She had done something of which her father disapproved, although no one any longer remembered what it was, but her father had dragged her to the cliffs and thrown her over and into the sea. One day a fisherman came fishing, not knowing that this inlet was said to be haunted. The fisherman's hook drifted down through the water and caught, of all places, in the bones of Skeleton Woman's rib cage. The fisherman thought of how many people this great fish would feed, how long it would last, how long he might be free from the chore of hunting, and as he struggled with this great weight on the end of his hook, the sea was stirred to a thrashing froth, and his kayak bucked and shook, for she who was beneath struggled to disentangle herself, and the more she struggled, the more she tangled in the line. No matter what she did, she was inexorably dragged upward, tugged by the bones of her own ribs. The hunter had turned to scoop up his net, so he did not see her bald head rise above the waters. When he turned back with his net, her entire body, such as it was, had come to the surface and was hanging from the tip of his kayak by her long front teeth. He screamed and knocked her off the prow with his oar and began paddling like a demon toward the shoreline. Not realizing she was tangled in his line, he was frightened all the more, for she appeared to stand up on her toes while chasing him all the way to shore. No matter which way he zigged his kayak, she stayed right behind, and her breath rolled over the water in clouds of steam, and her arms flailed out as though to snatch him down into the depths. He wailed and ran aground. In one leap he was out of his kayak, clutching his fishing stick and running, and the coral-white corpse of Skeleton Woman, still snagged in the fishing line, bumpety-bumped right behind after him. Over the frozen tundra he ran, and she kept right up. Finally the man reached his snow house and dove into the tunnel, and on hands and knees scrambled his way into the interior. Panting and sobbing he lay there in the dark, his heart a drum, a mighty drum. Safe at last, thank the gods, Raven, yes, safe at last. Imagine when he lit his whale oil lamp, there it, lay in a tumble upon his snow floor, one heel over her shoulder, one knee inside her rib cage, one foot over her elbow. He could not say later what it was. Perhaps the firelight softened her features, or kindled compassion against the bitter cold outside, but a feeling of some kindness came into his breathing, and slowly he reached out his grimy hands, and using words softly like mother to child, began to untangle her from the fishing line. First he untangled the toes and then the ankles, and on he worked into the night until dressing her in furs to keep her warm. Skeleton Woman's bones were all in the order a human should be. Afterward he gazed at her from time to time as he oiled the precious wood of his fishing stick and rewound the gut line, and she in the furs uttered not a word. She did not dare, lest this hunter take her out and throw her down to the rocks and break her bones to pieces utterly. The man became drowsy, slid under his sleeping skins, and soon was dreaming. And sometimes, as humans sleep, a tear escapes from the dreamer's eye, a dream of sadness or longing. The Skeleton Woman saw the tear glisten in the firelight, and she became suddenly so thirsty. She tinkled and clanked and crawled over the sleeping man and put her mouth to his tear. The single tear was like a river, and she drank and drank until her many years-long thirst was slaked. While lying beside him, she reached inside the sleeping man and took out his heart, the mighty drum. She sat up and banged on both sides of it. As she drummed, she began to sing out, flesh, 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 and the more she sang, the more her body filled out with flesh. She sang for hair and good eyes and nice fat hands and all the things a woman needs. And when she was all done, she returned the great drum, his heart, to his body, and that is how they awakened, together, in another way now, a good and lasting way.
Югaq mana atulqa pinniut qarput agaayut munlu